Hello, guys. Hello, learners. So I've joined 15 minutes early this time because our live session was supposed to start at 6 o'clock, but we ended up facing a lot of technical glitch. So just to make sure that things are sorted well before we start our session, our class, our lecture, I want everything should be functioning perfectly. Now, in case if you're there online and if you can hear me clearly, let me know in the chat. If you can't hear me, do let me know. I will be sharing my screen with you all. Okay, great. So I'm audible. I just checked myself in another device. So before we start, let me tell you today's class, Power Batch, is going to be on the topic of uh, decoding global perspective vocabulary. I will be shortly sharing my screen. Okay, here we go. I've already shared my screen with you all. So what we are going to do is we are going to look at two major goals. One is we will be finishing the remaining vocabularies around 4 to 5, if I'm 5 to 6 max. And then the hero of today's class is going to be learning how to write a developed point. That is the most important part. How to write a developed point. Okay. All right. So let's get started. But we are, since I am early for this class, I'm going to wait until 8 o'clock and then we will start with the class. In meanwhile, if you have not joined Google Classroom, make sure you join Classroom because all the worksheets and everything is uploaded there in the Google Classroom. Here is the link to join Google Classroom as a student. Google Classroom link. Yeah. So here's a link to join Google Classroom as student. Okay, hello everyone. A lot of students have joined. The class is supposed to start at 8 o'clock. The reason I joined early because today at 6 p.m. We faced a major technical glitch because of which we had to abort the class and then restart it now at 8, reschedule it at 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. In meanwhile, we will be starting the class sharp at 8 o'clock. But in meanwhile, you can make sure if you have not joined Google Classroom, you will need to join the classroom to get access to all the resources, homework worksheet that I'll be giving after the class. And let me share my screen with you. So today's work is this. Here it is. We are going to, this is the worksheet that I'm going to upload, that is already uploaded, rather, I would say, in Google Classroom. Developed versus undeveloped points, spot the difference. And this complete worksheet you need to solve by Friday. We are going to discuss the concept in today's class. And one more thing, guys, although it doesn't make much difference to me personally, but if you give me a thumbs up, it gives YouTube algorithm that hint that this is worth watching. This video is worth, means this class is worth watching. Now there are few rules for my class. One, if you have joined using your mobile phones, I would not recommend you to use that for these serious global perspective power batches. For the next 60 minutes, if you cannot change now, you for the next 60 minutes, I want you to turn off all the distractions. Try on laptop or tablet, not phone. Ask a lot of questions. Discuss in the chat, and yeah, also make sure to take notes. If you have not yet made Google Global Perspective worksheet, please make sure. So, if you have not yet made Global Perspective notebook for my classes, please make it, because whatever notes I give, it will be at one single place. And the last and the most important thing is these are serious global perspective classes which happens every Tuesday 6 p.m. Indian standard time. These are not casual videos which you will watch at your own uh, availability. You have to make sure you mark your schedule for this time, if you at 6 p.m. Indian standard time, so that you make sure you join these classes on time and don't miss anything. All right. There are still 10 more minutes to go, but I can see a lot of people who have joined the class. So give me a thumbs up in the chat if you want to start now. Just tell me in the chat, let's start, so that I know you are ready for this. Or shall we wait for next 9 minutes? Do you want me to wait for next 9 minutes, or what do we do? Okay, let me know. Okay, let's wait for 9 more minutes and stick to the time. Okay, the other thing that I have also pinned in the chat, that is Global Perspective Stalwarts Batch, which is YouTube membership access. And hello, 0xxx OPM. I can read your chats. So exam style practice paper discussion plus past paper answer discussion. It happens every Saturday and it is exclusive for the members. So you can consider this is the first step. Okay. And the second step is when you join my Saturday's class, which is wherein we discuss, I go through your answers, we have live discussion in the class. The worksheet that I shared just now, even that worksheet, that particular worksheet, the answers will be discussed in this week's Saturday's class. So you can consider, if you're really serious about getting an A star, then only invest your time and energy and money for this Global Perspective Stalwarts Batch, which happens every Saturday. And if you're serious about doing work on time, because you get a lot of homework, you are accountable. Okay. Okay, guys, it's still 7:53, but I am considering starting with today's class. So, the learning objective for today's class is to understand global perspective vocabulary. If you have not seen my previous class, that is class 1, Decoding Global Perspective Vocabulary, you must watch that, and henceforth make sure you mark your calendars for 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time, so that you make sure you join my sessions on time. Evidence, so we are going to cover these vocabularies, that is evidence, line of reasoning, reliability, value judgment, and vested interest. These are vocabulary of global perspective subject. And next learning objective, which is going to be the main focus for today's class, that is how to write a developed point according to global perspective examiners recommendation. Now, most important thing over here is many a times students confuse global develop point with lengthy answers, and that is what I'm going to That is a myth I'm going to break today, because it doesn't matter whether you're writing 5 sentences or 10 sentences. If it is not following the structure that global perspective demands, you will end up losing a lot of marks in writing develop point. So, starting with, and by the end of today's class, I'm going to share the assignment, that is develop point worksheet on Google Classroom. If you have not, if you want to access it, you can check the link in the chat for Google Classroom. Click on the link, you will be added in the class as my student, and you can see all the assignments uploaded so far. So far, I have only uploaded one more assignment for the last class, because this is just the second class. And here, okay, see, this is where you all will be joining. Next is upload the assignment by 20th Feb 2026. That is a Friday on Google Classroom. So this is the assignment for today's class, which is already there on Google Classroom. You have to solve it and upload it. Now this assignment will be discussed in Saturday's class, Saturday's membership class, Saturday's GP Stalwart Batch, which is accessible only to members of this channel who are really serious about getting an A star in global perspective. A quick question for you all. In the chat, type the device you're using for this power batch. You can type 1 for laptop or PC, 2 for tablet, and 3 for mobile phones. Let me see how many of you are using which devices. You can just type 1, 2, and 3. Laptop, tablet, or mobile phones. All right. So, yeah. All right. So, 1 minute recap is not required. You can simply go back and watch my video for class 1. I have already uploaded it, made it live. It's there on my channel. You can check it out. We will straight away start with today's class. That is, what are the IGCSE global perspective vocabulary we are going to start with. The first vocabulary that we are going to understand today or decode today is evidence. So when I say evidence, evidence means factual information that supports or disproves claims about global issue. Now we had already discussed about this thing, that claims, the difference between claims and argument is, claim means something that you think is correct, is right. But argument is something that you think is right or correct based on some evidence, statistics, which is evidence is statistic, data, facts, and figures. That comes under evidence. So, always to prove an argument in global perspective, you should be aware of how to connect it with the right evidence. And hence, it is crucially important to know the meaning of the word evidence with respect to global perspective curriculum. Now, I have also shared, there is one question that you can see on my screen, that is, what evidence does source A provide to support the claim that renewable energy is growing rapidly? This question I have just, although I have not shared any source A or B, the whole idea of putting up this question over here is for you to understand how the word evidence is utilized in the question. They are asking you to show the evidence, what evidence does source A provide to support the claim. Now, as I said, claim is something that you believe in without any evidence, whereas argument is something that you believe in with some known evidence. There is some logic to it. So that renewable energy is growing rapidly. So now let's try. So instead of trying, let's look at the sample answer. Okay. So source A provides statistical evidence showing solar energy capacity increased by 25% last year and wind power by 18%. This it also includes data that renewable energy now accounts for 30% of global electricity generation compared to 15% 5 years ago. Now, if you notice over here, when you are asked to write, wherever you see the word evidence in your question paper, you are supposed to pull out facts and numbers, data, and connect it to the claim that is made. So claim over here which was made is renewable energy is growing rapidly, and that is very well connected in the sample answer. That is, source A provides statistical evidence showing solar energy capacity increased by 25% last year and wind power by 18%. Okay, I hope it is good to go now. The evidence, what does evidence exactly means, is crystal clear to all of you. Just give me a quick thumbs up, yes, something in the chat, so that I know, yes, you all are there. It is a serious class that's happening here. It's not a casual video or a live session. We are conducting a class, so I will expect you all to give me some sort of um, revert on the chat to see if you guys are engaged. Now, moving to the next point, that is line of reasoning. So, what do you mean by line of reasoning? Line of reasoning means logical chain of connected arguments that builds to a conclusion. Now, I want you all to note specifically over here, line of reasoning means logical chain. So there is more than one reason which is connected to arguments. What is the meaning of argument? Argument is claim plus evidence. So when you are answering a question which asks you about line of reasoning, you are talking about logical chain of connected arguments that builds to a conclusion. So you have to conclude whatever you are arguing in the paragraph, in the question. So line of reasoning talks about one, it's a chain of connected arguments. Argument consists of two parts, claims and evidence, and it in turns builds a conclusion that is your personal response to the answer. This much is enough to understand how to answer line of reasoning. Okay, so I have shared one question over here, how it looks like in a question form. Develop a line of reasoning about whether developed countries should provide climate finance to developing countries. Now, here, examiner is not just asking you to list the reasons in the answer, rather examiner is asking you to develop a line of reasoning. Means you will be giving lot of arguments, which is a combination of claims, statistics, facts and data. That is claims plus evidence. You are going to list all the reasons, and then eventually you will end up concluding to what it means. Okay, conclusion is your personal response to the answer. Generally, such question carries around 8 marks, and let's look at one sample answer to this question. So, developed countries should provide climate finance because they are historically responsible for most carbon emissions. This has caused climate change that disproportionately affects poorer countries who contributed least to the problem. These countries, so if you notice, first sentence, developed countries should provide climate finance because. Now here very clearly, uh, you have to write the personal, you have to start your answer with a personal response, and then you have to justify why you think that, You say because they are historically responsible for most carbon emission. If you have any data, any facts, any information in the source, talk about it over here. Then you will put down the second reason, that this has caused climate change that disproportionately affects poorer country who contributed least to the problem. These countries lack resources to adapt to climate impacts or transition to clean energy. Therefore, whenever you have to conclude something, you will use the word therefore, and there are many other templates that I'll be teaching you to use in the answers. How to structure your answer basically. Therefore, climate finance addresses historical injustice while enabling global climate action. Without this support, developing countries may prioritize economic growth over environmental protection, undermining global climate goals. So, when you notice over here, line of reasoning is nothing but logical steps that builds from evidence to conclusion. And let me add one more part over here. Conclusion is also your personal response, how you have developed that personal response to that, to the argument. That is line of reasoning. Okay. Now, the next term is reliability. Reliability is again quite frequently used in your answers for global perspective. Now, what does it exactly mean? Reliability means how trustworthy and consistent a source of information is, how credible and authentic. So, reliability talks about two parts. One is credibility, and the second is authenticity. So, when we talk about credibility, is uh, how many what are the evidences that supports that claim or any quote by a person, that comes under credibility. And when we talk about authenticity, it means how much it is trusted by, I mean, how many people trust that source. That is authenticity, and both of them come under the umbrella of reliability. So let me share the question how it is asked in the paper. Assess assess the reliability of source B as evidence about climate change impacts. Okay, so now you have to identify what is the reliability of source. Assess, you have to assess, means what? Assess means you have to numerically talk about, you have to list down the reliability of source B as an evidence about climate change impact. So how reliable is source B? You have to list down all the part. So the sample answer that I've shared on the screen is source B has high reliability because it comes from Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. Okay, guys, if you feel, right now I am only sharing how these keywords are utilized in question and what kind of answers are there. So don't get confused with source A and B. I have simply picked up the sources to explain you the context of these words, how they are used in the answer. The data, so source B has reliability because it comes from Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC, which is a respected scientific organization. The data is recent, that is 2023, and based on peer reviewed research from multiple countries. However, reliability is slightly limited because it focuses only on temperature data without including climate indicators, and some projections involve uncertainty about future scenarios. So if you note over here, to justify the reliability of source B, or rather to assess the reliability of source B, the answer that you see on the screen talks about, or rather list all the points which you can pick from the source to prove it. Now, whenever you are asked to assess something, you should not be biased. You should not talk about all the points that supports that. Rather, you should talk about the pros and cons of all the evidence mentioned in the source. Okay, and that is what is required. So here you're not supposed to give very strong bias towards any specific part, either a pro or a con. You should be balanced. Your point should be balanced and it should be developed. How to make write it in a developed format, that is what I'm going to talk about later in today's class itself. So when you notice reliability assessment, consider authorship, currency, evidence base, and also talks about the limitations. Okay. Now I want a quick thumbs up in the chat if you have got everything I've been talking. These are just the basics of global perspective. But yes, if you have any query, any question, let me know in the chat. It can be about anything with respect to today's class, so that I know we all are on the same page. And if I'm going too fast, let me know. If I'm going too slow, then also let me know. This is like your serious class. It's not just, it's a conversational type of setup that I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make it one sided. So I will definitely need your active participation, and feel free to put things in the chat. Okay. All the learners who have joined for the first time today, let me tell you that next time, that is coming Tuesday, we have power badges for global perspective, wherein I teach global perspective in such a way that it gets you ready for an A star in global perspective. So make sure you mark your calendars for Tuesday, 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Subscribe to this channel, give a thumbs up so that you are notified. Put that notification button on and all of that, so that you are notified if you're serious about getting an A star in global perspective. And also, please note, these are not going to be casual classes, casual videos. Rather, these are serious um, lectures which are happening on my channel, on this YouTube channel, KA Prep Live. So you have to make sure you follow all the rules, stay active, join Google Classrooms. Only then you can expect and see yourself grow in the subject. Okay. All right. Now the next word which you often see in global perspective paper is value judgment. Anybody who knows the word value judgment, let me know in the chat. Anybody who has seen or who knows or who knows what this word is, or what is the difference between judgment and value judgment? Okay, I'll just wait for around 25-30 seconds so that you can type the answer. All those who are joining now, this is a serious class that's happening for Global Perspective Power Batch, which happens every Tuesday. And yeah, anybody who knows the answer for what's the difference between judgment and value judgment? So, judgment, when you say the word judgment, in judgment is based on the evidence, the facts, the data that you have. You give out a judgment. That is judgment. And when you say value judgment, although you know you have some evidence, data, facts, but still you there is a conclusion which is based on personal belief and opinion and not just evidence. Many a times we know that this thing, this is the data that I have. But because of my personal experience, or rather personal belief, I will make a judgment about it, which might be contradictory to the evidence that's present, or rather, I will try to incline the evidence towards my personal belief. That is what is value judgment. I hope that the difference between judgment and value judgment is pretty clear now. Now, value judgment means personal assessments based on beliefs, ethics, and cultural values. So, to the same problem or issue, the value judgment given by you and your friend looking at the same set of evidence will definitely be different. However, to the same set of issue, the judgment passed by you and your friend looking at the same set of evidence will be same, because there you are not involving your emotions, your beliefs, your ethics and cultural values to give out a judgment. The type of question asked in the paper is, to what extent do value judgments affects international responses to human right violations? Now here, most of the time, learners end up answering this question from a perspective of writing a judgment based on just the evidence given in the source, or the data given in the source. Whereas you are expected to answer with respect to the data given in the source plus your personal belief, your values, and then judge the effect of international responses or to human right violations. So let's try. Let's look at the answer. So value judgment significantly affects international responses because different culture prioritize different rights. What was the question? To what extent do value judgments affect international responses to human rights violation? Okay, yes. Now here they are asking you that uh, if the same policy is passed in a particular country, let's say banning of social media for teenagers is passed in country A and country B, how people of that respective country will look at this policy, what extent, what will be the effect of value judgment. So banning internet for teenagers is right or wrong? It's a right thing. Looking at the data and numbers, it is impacting a lot of teenagers to social media and doom scrolling, and all of these things are impacting teenagers. A lot of countries have already adopted this, that they are banning it for the teenagers, but yes, there are many countries who have not done that. Although, if you focus on the answer, if you judge that, it is correct, but different countries have different values, different ethics, different way to think about things, and hence their value judgments significantly changes. Okay, for example, now here it was about international responses to human rights violations. Now here it was, Western countries often make value judgment emphasizing individual freedoms and political rights as most important. However, some Asian countries make different value judgments, prioritizing economic development and social stability over individual expression. These different value judgments explain why international responses vary. Some countries impose sanction based on their judgment that political freedom is essential, while others avoid intervention based on their judgment that sovereignty is paramount. let me just cut short the explanation to this whole idea of value judgment. It's a very important word. That is the reason I'm investing so much time in explaining, re-explaining, explaining from different perspectives. It's very easy to misunderstand the meaning of this word. So value judgment are personal and or cultural assessment that influence decisions and policies based on the evidence and the arguments presented. If you have clearly understood the meaning of the word with respect to or in context with global perspective curriculum, value judgment, how the answer looks like, give me a thumbs up and okay. Um, okay, great. Type of word which is very frequent, which is frequently used in global perspective question paper, or I would say in the answer script or mark scheme, you will see this words. See this word. Vested interest means having a personal stake that influences positions on global issue. Vested interest means I am trying to convince you something because I have my personal gains out of it also. It is not always a bad thing, but yes, people try to push harder so that because they have their vested interest. Now, for example, a girl who is working in a food NGO talks about rising hunger in the world. Although she talks when she speaks, she makes valid arguments. However, certain claims made by her might look little exaggerated because she has her own vested interest. And this is the exact critical thinking ability that global perspective focuses on developing amongst students. And hence, you should be clearly able to identify vested interest, assess it, evaluate it, and give that personal response to the answer. Now, I'll show you the question which is asked on this topic vested interest. How might vested interest affect the reliability of source C about renewable energy policy? Now, here's this is how the word vested interest is utilized in the question. And what do you expect? What do examiner expects you to write? So examiner here expects you to analyze and evaluate source C, look for the arguments made in source C, identify if it's a valid argument, and also identify if there is any vested interest which is directly shown and which can also be indirectly talked about in the source. Sometimes you can see it directly, very clearly, but many a times you don't know. You have to connect the dots to find if there is a vested interest, and that needs to be clearly talked about in the answer. So, looking at a sample answer, source C's reliability is affected because it's written by the CEO of a solar panel manufacturing company who has clear vested interest in promoting renewable energy policies. Now, here, although promotion of renewable energy policy is a positive part for the globe, but you might wait and think about the evidences or re-verify the evidences or arguments made by a CEO of a solar panel manufacturing company. The company would benefit financially from government subsidies and mandates for solar power, which could make the source biased towards exaggerating benefits and downplaying the cost of renewable energy. Now, again, make a note of the word downplaying, make a note of the word exaggerated, because all of these vocabulary you are going to use in your answer. Even if you can speak really well, if you can speak, if you have a great command on English language, verbal skills, framing perspective answers need structure, needs the smart usage of the right vocabulary. It is clear chosen for global for your IGC. In global perspective, you need to know the right words to frame the right structure of the answer, which creates maximum impact. And hence, please note down while I speak in your notebooks: exaggerated, downplaying the cost of renewable energy, vested interest, reliability. All of these are the words which help you to construct a great answer in the least number of words. Now the last sentence is, while the technical information may be accurate, the policy recommendation should be viewed cautiously due to these financial interest. That's what I said. So while the usage of the presence of renewable energy is something that is good for the globe, but the recommendation, the policy recommendation, the pricing, things like that should be viewed cautiously due to financial interest of whom, which is the vested interest of CEO of solar panels manufacturing company. Okay. Now the next part is, I'll give you 1 minute break to absorb everything. If you have any question, you can let me know in the chat. Okay. Just take out my earrings because it's hurting with the headphones. Yeah. And guys, if you have not yet joined Google Classroom, I will request all of you to make sure you join it right now. The link is here in the chat. I can only see 0xxx OPM saying me hello. Nobody else has, although people are joining, although students are joining, but I need to understand if you are as serious as me conducting a class on YouTube while you're watching this thing, or you're just it's a casual it's a casual time which is spent on this live. And if you are serious about getting an A star, just in case, you have to make sure you join the Google Classroom, because I'm going to upload the worksheet on Google Classroom, the homework. You're accountable for that. I want to make sure that you guys turn in. So let me just show you quickly how Google Classroom looks like. So this is how your Google Classroom will look like. Right now you can see two different worksheets uploaded. So I had uploaded one assignment on 7th of February. That point of time there was only one child who had joined it, and the second assignment is uploaded today, which is due this Friday. Okay, this is how you can see, this is what you can see. Please download and complete today's global perspective worksheet. So once you solve it, you can scan it into a single PDF copy. What you will do is, you will go and you will upload it and click on turn it in. So once you do that, it's get uploaded, I can access, I will download, I will correct it, and the answers and the feedback will be discussed in Saturday's class, which is Global Perspective Stalwart Batch, which is I have also shared the link to join a YouTube members access class, wherein all the solved worksheets are discussed in the chat here. It happens every Saturday 7 p.m. And if you're serious about getting an ace, and most importantly, if you're serious about doing the work. It's not that you will simply join, watch, and you will not be serious about it. If I obviously I'm going to lay some rules wherein I will make sure that people who are joining, they're doing the work. Otherwise, they are out of the batch, because that is the only way. I wanted to make it a concentrated group of students and learners who are serious about getting an A star in 2027. So yeah, only then think of investing your time and energy in these sessions. Now the next we are going to start with is I'm going to show you two paragraphs. Okay, what you have to do is you have to read both the paragraphs. Okay, I'll read it aloud and let me know in the chat which one, which paragraph will get maximum marks. Okay, the first paragraph, example A, which talk about plastic pollution is harmful to marine life and it's really bad for the environment. There's plastic everywhere in the oceans. It's just terrible. Fish are dying because of the plastic and turtles too. It's so sad to see all these animals suffering. The ocean used to be clean, but now it's full of garbage. People just throw plastic bottles and bags everywhere, and they end up in the sea. It's not fair to the animals. Dolphins and whales are also affected by this plastic problem. The government should do something about it. Companies make too much plastic packaging. It's getting worse every year. Something needs to be done. Plastic is everywhere and animals keep eating thinking it's food. This is such a big problem. And everyone knows it, but nobody cares enough to um, stop it. The oceans are becoming like garbage dump. Okay, this is the first answer. I'll give you 1 more minute to go through it so that you absorb and you think with what marks you will give out of 5. And then I'll take you to the next answer, next example. Okay, moving on to the next example, that is example B. Plastic pollution severely threatens marine ecosystems through multiple pathways. Sea turtles mistake plastic bags for jellyfish, leading to intestinal blockages and death, with studies showing 50% of sea turtles having consumed plastic. Microplastics enter the food chain when small fish eat plastic particles, concentrating toxins that eventually reach human consumers. This pollution cost the global fishing industry uh, $13 billion annually in reduced catches and cleanup efforts. Now I have shared both the answers. You will absorb and you will mark, you will go through the example B and A both. If you want to again go back to example A, here it is, and here is B. So I'll stay here for a minute. And what you have to quickly do is you have to mark both the answers. Okay, so let me know in the chat which answer do you think will get maximum marks. Okay. So now let me tell you, if you look at example A is lengthy, then example B, but example B ended up getting more marks than example A. Now why? If you carefully look at example A, it talks about plastic pollution is harmful to marine life and it's really bad for environment. There's plastic everywhere in the ocean and it's just terrible. So it is just ranting about the issues caused by plastic without any data, without any evidence, without any argument. That's all. Whereas in example B, it talks about who is being affected. how it is introduced in the food chain. What is the percentage of sea turtles who have consumed plastic? What is the what is the amount, what is the cost for global fishing industry in reducing this in this plastic uh, waste being introduced in the food chain? So the source A is weak. Example A is weak because one, repetitive. It says the same thing multiple ways. Two, emotional language without facts. You're talking so sad, terrible, not fair. You are not supposed to use emotional language in global perspective. You have to answer with lot of evidence, supported with the right reasons and right developed point, which we are going to look at now. Vague statements not allowed. You can't put the words many, few, everywhere, something. All of these words not allowed in global perspective. No specific evidence. If you're not including statistics, if you're not including studies, no concrete examples, not allowed. Rambling structures. You are not supposed to continuously ramble about something without logical flow between ideas. There should be some flow of ideas, and how to establish that flow of ideas is one by using the next strategy, which I'm going to talk about in the on the next slide. Opinion heavy. You are not about, you should not be giving out your judgments without any strong evidence or argument, and only if you are asked to do that. And if you're not showing any clear analysis, just listing the complaints without analyzing where it is relating, you will end up losing a lot of marks, even though your answer was long. Then your example A was long, then example B. It was a lengthy answer, example A. Now I'm going to reveal you a formula for a developed point. Okay, so now before I start with the formula, if you have watched this live class power batch so far, if you feel, although personally I am not too much affected by the likes, but my channel will be affected by the likes, number of likes I get on the this thing. So it will just take you a second to do that, even rather than less than that. Give it a like, share it with your school friends about this power batch which happens on YouTube. Not many people know about it. If you have not subscribed, consider subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss out on something which is important for you, not just for the sake of me getting views. If it doesn't provide value, nobody will watch it. But I know what I'm doing right now on this channel is extremely valuable. So don't miss out on something that you can get easily for your global perspective A star. So we are going to use, to write a developed point, we are going to use a method called as WEEN, WEEN. And this method is talks about one, what is your point? What is the claim that you're making? Two, explain why. You have to give the reasoning. What? Explain why. Three, evidence to prove it. Facts and example. And four, matter. Now, many a times I get questions like whether where I am going supposed to write develop point, because for all the answers there are different structure. Develop point is supposed to be written in every single answer, and hence it is the basic building block of writing a great answer in global perspective, or rather I would say great response in global perspective. There is no right or wrong answer or response in global perspective. It is how well you have structured it, how well you are putting forth your arguments, and if you are following the rules. Now, whatever rules that you're going to learn now at this age will be applicable, will be useful throughout your life, especially when you are applying to top universities, when you're writing your personal essays, when you're writing your statement of purpose, because all of these strategies, what you're going to learn now to get good marks in global perspective, will be very much useful. So that is the real life, one of the real life application of this subject. Although there are many, unlike other subjects, this particular subject can also be very well integrated with other subjects if you are choosing A levels, or if you're choosing IB after your IGCSE exam. Still, when you're writing extended essays and research papers, it's going to be of a great help. And there is a demarcative difference seen between a student who has understood these concepts and applied it in real life. A child with a great marks in global perspective is very well reflected through his or her personal essays also for universities. Okay, so this method to write develop point is applicable to all the answers, especially the answers which are 8 marks or more, 3 to 4 marks and 8 marks or more in your global perspective. So first is, what is your point? You will talk about that, explain why and evidence to prove it. That is how you build an argument. You give a reason and you give an evidence, and at the end you give matter, why is this significant, or what kind of impact it's creating. Let's try. Okay, let's try with one question. Fast food is unhealthy. In your notebooks, even you can write down what is your point. Fast food is unhealthy. That is a claim that I'm making. Why is it unhealthy? The reason, evidence to prove it. If you, although I right now have not given you any source to prove it, but yes, if you know any data, put it down, or you can for now put some random number. And matter, why is it significant for us to know that fast food is unhealthy? Okay, I'll give you 1 minute to do that. Quickly do it. All right. So you have to quickly write answer to this question in the chat or in your notebook. I would prefer looking at your answers in the chat. If you write in your notebook, I will not be able to read it, so you won't get honest feedback. So it's important to break your mental blocks of typing in a public chat and answer it here in the chat. So let's look at the sample answer that I have framed. That is, fast food consumption is significantly damages public health. It is explaining it by high in sodium, sugar, and trans fat cause multiple health issues. Evidence is regular fast food eaters have 80% higher obesity rates. McDonald's Big Mac contain 50% of daily sodium limit. And matter, this creates $200 billion annual healthcare costs and reduces life expectancy significantly. And this is how a developed point looks like. Sometimes you are not supposed to write this big answer, but you are supposed to touch base upon all the points I have given. That is WEM, WEEM, what, explain, why, evidence to prove, and matter. Why is it significant? Okay, and that takes me to the end of today's class. It took us exactly an hour to complete this class. Okay, so a pat on my back, because I thought it is going to be a lengthy class, and I wanted to fit it into 1 hour only. So, but it is exactly fitting into 1 hour. Now, the next step is you are going to immediately click on the Google Classroom link to access this worksheet, which I have already uploaded on Google Classroom, developed versus undeveloped points. And there are some tasks I have listed down over here. You have to answer these questions. You can take a printout. I would request you to also please take a printout. Part 2, beam method, practice development, how to, I have covered all the ways to scaffold your learning up to the top grade through this worksheet. Complete it by Friday, upload it in Google Classroom, turn it in. So Google Classroom link is there in the chat over here. Click on that link and you will be joining in through the right email ID, um, wherein you will be able to access this worksheet. So here it is. This is the Google Classroom I'm talking about. This is how it will look like. This is the the banner and everything. Here is the worksheet. K Preps posted a new assignment, 17th Feb, writing develop point. And once it is done, uploaded, I will be going through each and every uploaded work. Now, all the uploaded work, the feedback, and the answers will be discussed in Saturday's class. Saturday's Global Perspective live member class. So it's the name of the batch is Global Perspective Stalwarts, which is dedicated live session for the paid member of this YouTube channel, wherein we discuss exam style practice papers. This particular worksheet is again exam style, which will be discussed in the class. We also discuss, I give you feedback on the answers that you have uploaded. I pick the top one, the the answers which I see. I go through each and every answer. I give you feedback, examiner style feedback, what to correct. So basically, it's a kind of a gentle hand holding session wherein I guide you to the journey of A star. And if you're serious about getting into it, the link to this thing is also pasted here in the chat. The first one, GP Stalwarts Batch, YouTube membership access. It's a paid membership of 239 rupees, Indian rupees, and then there you can join. If you have any question to ask, I'm still here. You can let me know here in the chat. If you are watching this live session, if this live power batch, after the power batch ends, the live streaming ends, what you can do is you can also feel free to give comments, give it a thumbs up, write your questions in the comments. I will definitely read those comments, and most importantly, for the next class, make sure you join live, which is every Tuesday 6 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Only for today, because of the technical glitch, I had shifted it to 8 p.m., but it is scheduled on every Tuesday 6 p.m. I'll wait for a moment for you all. If you have any question, let me know in the chat. Otherwise, we'll end this class. All right, guys, we'll end the class here. See you in the next class. Bye bye.